There's a lot of conversation recently about the acquisition of land at Draxall, 50 acres to be precise, for the purpose of low-income and lower middle-income housing by the Minister of Housing. I understand the concerns of many Barbadians who may feel that they have been robbed of the opportunity of having an appropriate settlement for the reparations that ought to be made as a result of the blood, sweat and tears of Barbadians over centuries. I want to make it clear that this is not a matter that we take lightly. Indeed, the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act was enacted and dealt with by successive governments because we recognize the need for the government of Barbados, whoever that government is, to be able to make reparations for people whose ancestors were forced to live in some of the harshest conditions and were deprived of all opportunities to be able to make the best for themselves and their families. So we get the concept of reparations both domestically, but also, as we have been doing, internationally. The reality is that we have been at the forefront of making the call for reparations against those who contributed to the decimation of this country and the lives of people, while at the same time enriching themselves and building out the Industrial Revolution, and that which has now become the climate crisis caused by the greenhouse gas emissions coming from the Industrial Revolution. So we get it. But at the same time, I need to remind us, Barbados is a country that is governed by the rule of law. We have never made it a habit, or nor am I aware of any example where we have expropriated people's land. When people have land that is a subject of compulsory acquisition, by law we are due to pay for it. At the same time, that does not preclude us from going aggressively to be able to pursue both through our advocacy and, as we are seeking to do in recent times, through the preparation of what are our legal options with respect to being able to take action not only against the owners of Drax Plantation, but also against all others who have contributed to the condition of this country being regrettably one of the worst examples of modern racism in the Americas. And may I remind those who are singling out Draxall alone as we deal with the issue of housing our people, that all of Barbados was a patchwork of plantation tenantries before. And that is why I made the point that the government earlier would have, through the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, undertaken one of the most aggressive forms of land reform in the Americas. 40 years ago, under Prime Minister Tom Adams, we agreed that Barbadians who lived on tenantries, like the same Draxall tenantry, where their houses had been there for more than 5 years in the same family, that they should be able to purchase that land at the equivalent of 10 Barbados cents a square foot or 5 US cents a square foot. And what does this really mean? That even today, 40 years later, that Bajans who live on plantation tenantries will benefit from the subsidy that was required by law to be provided by the plantation owner with respect to the land on which they are living, such that those people could move immediately from having to deal with the improvement of their houses instead of having first to find large sums of money to purchase the land on which the house was sited. And this, as I said, was and is to me one of the most perfect forms of reparations. Regrettably, it was done by the people who themselves were the descendants of slaves. And the fact that it has not yet been matched by those who perpetrated the act of slavery, in spite of the compensation that they received from the British government, £20 million in hard cash and another £27 million with respect to the forced labor of people between 1834 and 1838 in the apprenticeship system, is a matter of grave regret for us.